Welcome to the Main Street Author Podcast, the place to discover how traditional business owners are leveraging the power of being a published author to grow their business. Get ready to discover practical and proven ways to enhance your reputation, build trust, and establish authority by authoring your own short, helpful book. On every episode, you'll hear from guest Main Street authors who have successfully authored, published, and leveraged their own book and want you to do the same. Now, here's your host of the Main Street Author Podcast, Mike Capuzzi.
Welcome, everybody, to another insightful episode of the Main Street Author Podcast, the place to inspire business owners to author, publish, and leverage their own short, helpful books, or shooks as I call them. Today, I'm pleased to be able to have a conversation with serial entrepreneur, TV writer and producer, and author, Aurora Winter. Now, Aurora uses her filmmaking expertise and neuroscience to help people communicate and get results, whether it's raising 7 figures for a startup, negotiating for a raise, or enrolling a new client. If you've ever wanted to write a book, become an in-demand speaker, or communicate more effectively, you will definitely want to stay tuned. Aurora, welcome to the Main Street Author Podcast.
Hey, Mike, it's so great to be on the podcast with you. I loved your previous guests. There's such a richness of information you provide.
Well, I appreciate that, and I'm sure we're going to do the same thing here. As you and I were getting to know each other, I mentioned I think we're going to have a great conversation today because, interestingly enough, you and I do a lot of similar things for our clients and our folks. But Aurora, why don't you share with our listeners a bit about you and your business, what you do, and how you serve your clients?
Well, you of all people would understand this, Mike, but for the benefit of the listeners, you know how entrepreneurs and experts really struggle to create a clear, concise, compelling message and to answer the simple question, what do you do? And as a result of that struggle, they are rambling or they lack confidence and they're just struggling. So what I help them do is create that clear, concise, compelling message with the result that they turn their experience into insights and words into wealth, and they can become a magnet for their ideal clients, become a magnet to attract capital, and also get media coverage.
Very good. And I know you have a new book coming out, which we're going to talk about here in a little bit, which really does focus, very much on all of that. And I was fortunate enough, you were gracious enough to give me an advance release copy, and I was going through it, and I see that a lot of what you say in there, I'm a firm believer in. And you're right, Aurora. I mean, messaging, no matter what it is, whether you own a local business or you're some international expert, messaging and how you can articulate what you do and how you do it and all that is so important. And it's something I would imagine it's something that constantly, it's not like a one and done thing, is it?
No, it's not like a one and done thing. It's like a conversation. So many people think that their brand is a logo, but your brand is a conversation. Your brand is a story. It's your story of why you're doing your business, but it's also the story of your clients, the people that you help, and it's even the stories of the people who suffer without your help. And, that's why I write books. It's like when I struggle with something and I hit my head against the wall and I hit despair and I'm running out of capital and then I have a breakthrough, I want to share that breakthrough with others. And that's certainly why I wrote my most recent book, but it's why I've written all of the 6 books that I've published. I've written a lot more books than that, actually. I'm basically a writer, TV producer / entrepreneur. So I love words as you do as well.
Yeah, definitely. And ever since I've been a little kid, I've loved books. My grandmother got me reading when I was really young, and I've always loved books. So it's something about, I enjoy my Kindle, but I enjoy the just holding a book and all that good stuff.
Well, that goes to show the power of a book to change the trajectory of somebody's life. And that's what started me writing. I remember the moment I was 9 years old and I was in the school library and I had to reach up on my tippy toes to reach the last book in C.S. Lewis's Narnia series. And I remember the moment where my hand touched that last book in the series and the intense feeling of anticipatory joy and anticipatory grief because I had one more book to read, but it was also the last book. And in that moment, I realized how amazing it is to be an author and to be able to transport people to another place and time with little black dots on white pieces of paper. And I vowed in that moment, or I had the insight in that moment, that I couldn't imagine anything more powerful, more wonderful than that. And I vowed to do everything I could to become the best writer that I could be. And the really amazing thing is, later in my life, that same author, C.S. Lewis, helped me a second time change the trajectory of my life a second time after my husband died suddenly at the age of 33 when our son was 4. And C.S. Lewis wrote a book called A Grief Observed, where he just shared his own struggle of healing after his wife passed. And it really saved me, because I'm like, oh, should I just shoot myself and get this over with? Or is this normal? And when I read A Grief Observed, I realized, oh no, this is normal. This is what grief feels like. And so, that doubled down on my commitment to the written word and to helping other people, get their message into a book or into videos or into something, a pitch that will help them achieve their goals.
When I was reading your book, I noticed that, yeah, I mean, that book that you wrote coming off the death of your husband, and then it spawned a whole, entrepreneurial effort where you were starting a group and all that. And I thought, it's very powerful. And I think what's so interesting, Aurora, is that the kind of books that I help my clients publish aren't probably C.S. Lewis level books, in that they're that profound at that level. However, they can be profound in a very different way, because we always encourage our authors to, write a short, helpful book on a very specific topic. And you don't know who is looking for that information. You don't know who needs it. We do know that there are people out there, but whether you're C.S. Lewis like or just a local business owner who helps clients, patients, whatever, you're absolutely right. Being a book author, which is the reason we have this podcast, can be profound in ways that you may never know, because you don't know who you've touched.
Exactly. And, books usually present a solution to a problem. And I'm with you. Like, also, it's great to have a book, it's great to have a lead magnet, but it changes your identity when you're a published author. And that is huge. I also find it's valuable for people to appreciate their own expertise and take the time to write a book. A short book is fine. It doesn't have to be a long-winded book. And I'm sure you have some stories about your own clients. But for example, I helped some dentists in San Diego write a book. But first, I'm an entrepreneur. I've got an MBA, so we reverse engineered it. I wanted to discover, who was their most valuable client, and they said, well, lots of people come in and they spend $100 to $200, but we're really good at helping people over 40, and they often spend $5,000 or $10,000 or $15,000, because by that time they may need crowns or and they have the money to invest. So we wrote the book. I interviewed them and wrote the book, Keys to a Healthy Smile After 40, 7 Keys to Feeling 7 Years Younger. And that book, plus getting clear on their message, helped them take their business from 1.5 to $6 million. So it had a huge impact. They got on radio, they got on TV, they were celebrities in the dental community. They were greeted as, famous people. They were so like autographing their book. They were kind of blown away by that experience. But because the book was designed to communicate the value that they provide and attract clients who would spend $5,000 instead of $500, it really helped them grow their bottom line as well and be of service.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. There's, story after story. And I want to get back and talk about your upcoming book here in a second, but what you just shared regarding your dentist in San Diego, I mean, that's very powerful. I think one of the things that maybe we talk about here in a little bit, though, is, I always say, publishing a book is at a very high level, a sort of two-step procedure, process. There's the writing of the book, and then there's the marketing and promotion and use of the book. And you don't get the kind of results that you just shared, Aurora, unless there's a real plan of action to promote and leverage and get that book out there in a big way. So maybe we could talk about that. Yeah, I definitely want to talk about that a little bit more. But let's talk about right now your upcoming book, your $1 Million Message. Tell me a bit more about who that book is for, why you decided to write it, and what readers will get from reading it.
Well, I think all of your clients and the listeners to this podcast would be the ideal reader for that book. Basically, it is intended for leaders, experts, and entrepreneurs to really understand what is this business of publishing and how does it actually work. Like, it made me so distressed because most of my friends, family, and clients think like most of the population that the way you make money with books is by selling books. And this book that's being released May 2021 shares 7 ways to make 7 figures with your book. But publishing books would be number 8. There's so many ways to profit from your book. Most people don't understand that best-selling authors make 85% of their revenue from other things besides the book. Now, it's kind of trite to say that your book is a business card, but let's just go there for a moment. It's far more than a business card. But if we reduced it to that, I mean, how much money would the average business make if they tried to sell their business card? They have to be very good salespeople, but maybe they could make a trickle. But almost all of us have business cards or the modern equivalent, the website. And so having your message clear and concise in a book is like having an MBA. It's like having a degree. Anybody could get an MBA. I have an MBA. Well, almost anybody could get one, but so few people do because there's work involved, there's commitment involved, there's dedication, there's expertise. And so whether people have an MD or an MBA or some other kind of degree, it opens up a new level of opportunity for you. And it's the same with having a book. So you can get on podcasts or radio or TV with a book. You're viewed differently. I love the book Persuasion, and with a book you are welcomed as an author. You are the authority on this particular topic, and that shifts the dynamic of the entire conversation when you're having a pitch or presentation to a prospective client. So I'm sure I'm speaking to the already convinced. You probably say something similar, but also it helps the author to get clear on what is the problem that they're the solution to. Yeah. And then they can communicate that, much more clearly and with more gravitas, like they're more centered, they're more confident instead of being rambling about it. So there are so many values in writing a book, so many layers of value. But every time, I often stumble onto something and then I go, oh, this is a good idea. I should share it with others. So there's a bunch of things I could share, but for example, you and I were talking before we started recording. Most people don't understand that you can change your book after it's been published, thanks to the wonder of Amazon and KDP publishing and print on demand or ebook. So it's such a wonderful thing. My first published book, I agonized over because I was printing 3,000 copies, and that's the way it was done at that time. And so, yeah, you really were stuck. And couldn't revise the book easily. But now you can revise your book every day if you'd like. You find a typo, you fix it, you upload it. You want to put a chapter from your upcoming book at the end of a previous book that was published 2 years ago. You can do it. It's not a problem. And that can be so liberating, because I think people hesitate to write something in stone because they're like, what if I change my mind? What if I want to add something? And so thanks to print-on-demand publishing and ebooks becoming so popular. Ebooks have grown in popularity since the pandemic. So don't worry about that. It's all good.
Yeah. I mean, you're absolutely right. That's why when I was reading it in your book, I made a comment to you because I haven't heard too many people talk about that. And of course, that assumes that you are publishing and you have the control and that you're able to do that. But if you are, that opportunity definitely exists, and it's very powerful. And ironically, Aurora, another little similarity between the two of us. My first book was 2007. I had to print 3,000 copies. That was the order. We had to print that many because we had to get to a certain price point. And I'll never forget the day the delivery truck dropped off 3,000 books. It was interesting to say the least. And obviously, in this day and age with print on demand, I don't encourage any of my authors to print that kind of quantity unless there's like some big reason. But
How did you feel when your books arrived?
it was my first one. I wanted to do it. It was a collaborative effort with some friends, and I was interviewed for Investors Business Daily. I was on local TV.
Woohoo!
Yeah, we had radio. I mean, I worked it, and it was a very interesting experience. I don't know if you've caught wind in any of my stuff, but I have two daughters, both in college now, and my oldest daughter, when she was going from her senior, no, she was going into her senior year of high school. So between junior and senior year, she published a book. So she beat me.
Oh,
She published a book for dog rescues. We had just rescued a dog, our first dog rescue, and she published a book. It was an anthology, so a collaboration. She got 26 people who rescued dogs to write a chapter, raised a ton of
wow.
money, and interesting, Aurora, with very little effort. We did some effort, PR and stuff, but she was on all kinds of local media and stuff, raised several $1,000s. But anyway, I
Wow, good
digress.
for
This is your
her.
interview, but yeah, but
Good for her.
to the
That's so
point of
great.
right power. It is a very powerful media, even in this day and age. I'd love to hear whether it's for your own books or for your clients' books, some smart ways to leverage them, Aurora. Because again, I think again, the book writing part is one part. But I think there's a lot of sad stories of boxes of unused books in people's closet because they run out of energy, they kind of forget why they did it, etc. Any strategies on leveraging books in smart ways once it's done?
Absolutely. Well, I wrote a whole book about it, but I can give some nuggets. Here's some mistakes that I made. Well, they weren't mistakes at the time. They worked out. So initially, I used my book as a lead magnet and would offer it as you are offering your book, free book, but people just pay for shipping and handling. And that works really, really well. So that's a great lead magnet way of attracting business. And it's one of the 7 ways to make 7 figures with your book. Jeff Walker and his book Launch, he's like the expert on that. But I've done it. Brendan Bouchard's done it. You seem to be doing it. It really works very well. But what I ignored is Amazon. I was like, well, who cares what ebooks? I like a physical book. I felt like if people get an ebook, they're not going to, have the same impact as if they get an actual print book. And I wanted to control the process because I'm sometimes a little bit of a control freak, the entrepreneur in me. And so I really ignored Amazon until just recently. And now I am really leaning into Amazon. I mean, you probably know this, Mike, but Amazon is the number 3 search engine, which is amazing. So if you are any kind of expert or leader or entrepreneur and you don't have a book on Amazon, you're really missing an opportunity to reach a huge marketplace. And while it's very expensive to pay for Google ads or Facebook ads or Instagram ads or whatever you fill in the blank, Amazon ads are still relatively inexpensive. So it's the number 3 search engine. So if you want to optimize, consider at least adding that to whatever you're doing in your marketing. And the thing that I'm really loving, Mike, is there's so much data available. I can geek out on it with my Excel spreadsheets, and you get a very rapid response. So for me, I help entrepreneurs, write books, or I help them get their message clear so that they can raise capital or get on media. Like typical client who's raising capital, when they come to me, they haven't raised any. And by the time we finished working together, they have raised 7 figures. So they're very happy, and some of them write books and some of them don't. But because my average transaction is not like $10 or $20, but thousands of dollars, it makes sense to attract clients through book publishing. Maybe I break even on my book, maybe I lose a little bit of money, but that's a really great way of attracting clients. And the cool thing, just like you can change the content of your book, you can also consider changing other things. So the book that I am publishing May 5th had the working title, Your $1 Million Message. But just today, as a result of split tests that I did online in real time with real book buyers, I have changed the title. So it's going to be called Turn Words into Wealth. And the subtitle is the same as what you've seen, Mike. Blueprint for Your Business, Brand, and Book. So Turn Words into Wealth, Blueprint for Your Business, Brand, and Book is the book that's coming out soon. And that's so much fun that we can actually get that data and get it in real time. So I suggest it's not either or. It's not either Amazon or helping people get books on your own, website with the free shipping plan, but do both. So those are a couple of tidbits.
Very interesting. So if I could, I'd like to dive a little deeper because I know you wrote about Tim
Sure.
Ferriss, and Tim Ferriss is kind of famous for knowing, his first book, The 4-Hour Work Week, that he split tested titles, and that's how he came up with the 4-Hour Work Week. So was this split test that you did, Aurora, was that with your own lists? That was something that you were able to control, right? You basically did a survey. Like, how did you do
It
that?
was something. Yeah, no, I'd be glad to explain, and hopefully it's something you could benefit from as well. I was inspired by Tim Ferriss because Walmart refused to publish his book under the working title, which was something insane, like fun and profit, making fun and profit, selling drugs for fun and profit, or something like that. They're like, no, that's not workable. And then he had 6 different titles that he tested. Now, back in his time, or at that time, he had to do a split test on Google, and so he measured the click-through rate on Google. And he had 6 potential titles, which were acceptable to Walmart and others, and finally settled on the 4-Hour Work Week. And then later he tested the covers. So I'm just finished testing the title, and I will be testing the cover later. So I did 2 things. One is there's a website called PickFu. So pick and then FU. That doesn't sound good, but anyway, PickFu, and it's you can test 50 people for about $50, or more like $100 if you get really narrow. So I specified that they were, over 35, and they read nonfiction books, and they were Amazon Prime members. So that was as close as I could get. And then I got the opinions back. Which title would they prefer? And there was a leaning towards Turn Words into Wealth. So about 65% of people preferred that. But then I thought, well, that's an okay test, but that's opinions of people who are giving me their opinion, but they don't really have their credit card out. So then I did a second test, which is still going on right now, but I tallied the results, and Turn Words into Wealth pulled 3.5 times better than your $1 million message. This might be too much data for people who aren't geeks.
No, this is very interesting.
But I tested on actual people who are willing to pay to buy the book. So I did that using a service called BookBub, which I highly recommend. They're awesome because these are people who want to buy books, who are buying books, and they would click on a link that said, right now my other book, Thought Leader Launch, 7 Ways to Make 7 Figures with Your $1 million Message. It has to go to a live book. But I'm not measuring book sales. I'm just measuring click-through with the big, the 2 titles with the same background, but it says, on sale, and it says there's a price right now. It's on sale for 99 cents. So I was able to confirm that this wasn't just an opinion of somebody who doesn't have money at stake, but somebody who's willing to buy the book on sale for 99 cents. So 3.5 times better is a lot better. So I am putting myself and my team under the gun to quickly change the title. But this is the amazing thing with our online world. Yes, it's kind of frustrating to be talking to people always on Zoom or on the phone and not connecting as much in person. But on the other hand, there's all these other benefits where we can get data quite quickly and where we can reach a global marketplace. So I hope you can try some of those things, Mike.
That's very interesting, and I love the geekiness. I'm not sure if everyone will, but I know I do. I appreciate that. So, and I'm sure.
Let me know if you try it.
Yeah, definitely very interesting. So, Aurora, let's talk about. And I know you come across this, but there's probably a lot of folks that are listening to this who have yet to write their first book. What words of encouragement would you give that person who, they should write a book? There's a really good reason. What words of encouragement would you give that person?
Well, I would encourage the person to get some support and to divorce in their mind the difference and distinction between the person whose ideas and expertise and life experience it is from the word wrangler. So many people conflate those two things and assume that they have to be the person, typing the words. And many people just freeze when they face a blank screen. But most people can talk. So I recommend that you work with somebody, work with Mike and his team, or perhaps work with me and my team, and get professional advice to help you structure the book. And then once you've got a structure, people can talk into their iPhone. I usually interview my clients because most people can answer questions. This conversation between us is so easy. It's flowing. I'm sure we can talk for hours. And most people are like that when they're talking about things that they care about or that they have experience or expertise in. And so do yourself a favor. Instead of taking the average, people on average spend 3.5 years writing a book if it's their first book. And you can really compress that time into just a few months if you work with somebody who knows what they're doing. And then just let go of the parts of the process that you don't love. If you don't love editing or you don't love word wrangling, let that go and trust an expert like Mike to get your words right and convey your ideas. And you'll be so pleased to get your book actually done rather than sitting there like an albatross that's starting to stink. What do you think, Mike?
Well, listen, you're absolutely right. I mean, just like technology has changed, printing on demand with the fact that you don't need thousands of books anymore. I mean, there is a lot of options for folks to, talk their book out. There's, different things. Ghostwriting, I know that's a service your company provides. That kind of thing. So there's definitely, it always bothers me when someone hasn't gotten their book done because they think, either they can't do it, they're not a good enough writer. It's just, there's no reason these days. I'm not saying you should slap something together, but you shouldn't let, some of the very common fears or objections stand in the way. And you're absolutely right. And without a doubt, working with someone who's been down that road, knows the pitfalls, definitely, makes it go a lot smoother. So.
Well, also, what if you just got your ego out of the way?
Absolutely. Yes.
What if it's really important for somebody
Yes.
else to know what you know? What if you're the answer to somebody's prayers and your book would change somebody's life? So don't fuss so much about, standing in the spotlight, and instead come from a place of service, and you'll find your book so easy to write and such a joy to give to others.
Yeah, I'm over here nodding my head emphatically, Aurora, because I say the same thing. I always say, listen, take the spotlight off of you and all the things you have to do and yada yada yada, and
Yeah.
put it on your potential reader. And the fact that your book doesn't exist for that person, that's a debt. You're not serving them. So it is about refocusing and taking it off of you and putting it on the person that your book is meant to help. So thank you. Gosh.
Yeah, absolutely. Plus, the things that are ordinary to you are not
Yes.
ordinary
Yeah.
to others. I mean,
Yeah.
you're a lawyer or you're a dentist or you're, expertise, but other people haven't had that. So you can convey so many things that can benefit others. Absolutely.
Well, Roy, this is one of the interviews that kind of like I look down and it's like we're almost done here. I can't, so that's good. We may have to have a second interview at some point in the future. But as we wrap up here, just give me one thing that you would really like to leave listeners with, whether it's writing a book, messaging, what's just something people can take from this interview?
Well, I'd love for people to really honor their own lives and just know, memento mori. You're only going to have so many breaths, so many days, but your book is your legacy. It can last forever. I mean, C.S. Lewis mentored me and he continues to mentor me and others, yet he's long gone. A book is like an idea virus. A book is an amazing thing. It can travel hundreds of years and thousands of miles, and a person can open it and essentially be mentored by you. So I'd really love to encourage everybody to write a book.
Could not have said it any better. So, Aurora, how can folks learn about you, your upcoming book? I know you're going to share a little bonus for listeners, so share all those details, please.
Oh, thank you, Mike. So my main website is my name, which is Aurora Winter, Aurora Winter, so Aurora Winter. And as a gift, people can read the advanced review copy of my book, which is now called Turn Words into Wealth, Blueprint for Your Business, Brand, and Book. And they can get that through the link that Mike will provide, and they can have that up until the release date, May 5th. And if you like the book and benefit from it, I'd love to hear from you. And really just love to encourage everybody to, write your book and do yourself a service and help others as well, so they can get that book for free.
Yeah. And of course, Aurora, we want them. I mean, they're getting the advanced release copy, but when it goes live on Amazon, you would obviously appreciate a purchase and a review, I'm sure, right?
I would absolutely appreciate a purchase, and especially a review. A review really matters to writers as their books get launched. Absolutely.
Yep. So if anyone's listening and they're going to take advantage of this advanced release copy, please make sure you help Aurora's efforts here by buying a copy when it's live and leaving a good review. So, hey, Aurora, this has been awesome. I knew it was going to be a good interview.
It has been fun.
I appreciate it. And good luck on the upcoming launch of your book. And thank you very much for your time today.
Thanks, Mike. Such a pleasure to connect with you.
Take care.
You've just listened to another insightful episode of the Main Street Author Podcast. If you've been on the fence about writing your own book, there's no better time than now to become a Main Street author. To learn more, visit mainstreetauthor.com. That's mainstreetauthor.com. And while you're there, schedule a complimentary strategy session with Mike to discuss your book ideas. See you next time, and remember, you can do this. Welcome to the Main Street Author Podcast, the place to discover how traditional business owners are leveraging the power of being a published author to grow their business. Get ready to discover practical and proven ways to enhance your reputation, build trust, and establish